Okay, so we are working on decorating some Christmas cookies today. We've got our, it's going to be a fun gnome and then a wintry Christmas tree, pine tree deal, and then also a Christmas present. So this is a cookie kit you can pick up from Reis's Bakery, and it comes with all the 5 colors that are needed, as well as I can't remember if it's 1 or 2 types of sprinkles that will be part of our design. So yeah, hope you enjoy and hope you find it helpful. By all means, leave a message in the comments and let me know if you have any questions or which your favorite cookie is. So thanks for joining us. All right, so here we go. You've got your 5 colors of icing and your 3 shapes of cookies. And your icing might have separated a bit depending on when we bagged it. So how you can tell is you get these kind of couple different shades of whatever the color is. It's harder to tell on the light colors, but what you're going to want to do, regardless if you can see it or not, you can see the little bit of variation there, is you're just going to kind of smush it around in there. Just think of it like a stress reliever, but maybe not too stressed because you don't want to break it. That would be bad. Then it would be more stressful. All right, so you just want it to kind of look like more of an even coloring in there. All right. All right, so there we go. We've got lots of beeping in the background. All the waffles being made. Okay, so that's kind of what we're going for, just that even shade of your colors. All right, and we are going to start with our, what are we going to start with? I don't know. We're going to start with our shoes. Let's do brown. The brown and the peach are a bit smaller because there's only a couple different spots that you might use it on. Although kids, they don't care. They'll put it wherever. As long as it tastes like sugar when it's done, they don't care where the frosting goes. All right, so I'm gonna let your piping bag here. You have the line, the seam, and you're gonna want to just kind of get that out of there. This way it's not making a big mess when you cut it. And you're going to cut a very small amount off. And you can always cut more, but you can't put it back on if you cut too much off. So I'll show you here in a minute. I'll have to measure that later and see how much it is, but you can see it's like hardly anything. Okay, so that's about it. And then you're gonna actually press the other way. So your seam will be on the top, but if you don't press this the other way, it's gonna make the icing come out of the bag funny. And so just kind of flatten it out in the opposite direction. So your line's on top, and we're gonna do his shoes first and then the Christmas tree trunk. All right, so because those are kind of in the background, royal icing gives you that 3D effect. And so I hold my piping bag like this. I just kind of put it in my thumb. This one's a bit smaller, so it's kind of tricky, but kind of like that. So with that 3D effect, you kind of want to do whatever's in the background first. So, okay. And then when you're drawing your lines, you can practice this like on a piece of parchment paper if you want to like be really official and try it out. But when you're drawing a line, you actually want to come away from the cookie. It's not like using a marker on paper. Okay, so we'll go up a little bit higher. And then I don't have them at the moment, but you should have some chocolate sprinkles in your kit that you can use on the tree trunk. That would be really cute. Add a great texture effect there. And we're going to do his shoes here. I thought this was the most perfect cookie cutter shape to match our Gnomaha. So I kind of do our edge first and then I fill it in. That's the other thing too about massaging your bag, the icing bags before you start, because not only does the color kind of separate as it sits, but the texture also kind of separates. So like the darker parts will end up being more watery, and then it makes it kind of trickier to get the icing to stay where you want it. So add a little bit of extra space there for his shoes. And then you can kind of shake the cookie. That'll kind of level it out. But it should mostly stay where you put it. If it doesn't, and we might have that, I can show you at the time, but if it starts to run off, you can just wipe it off. I have to do that now and again. All right, so that's our brown. If you're setting these aside to work with them more later, what I usually do is I keep a cup nearby and I put the bottom part in the cup first so it's standing. It also helps it to, if it's separating, then it does it a little bit more evenly. All right, what are we gonna do next? How about, let's do his little arms. So we're gonna mush this around. All the beeping. Gnomaha are already done cooking. And we've got, we've got sticky bread, and make sure you don't get those little pieces on your cookies. Okay, so I cut my little tip off there and squish it out. And we are gonna do his hands. So those have a little bit of time to dry. So when you want that more 3D effect, you got to give it time to dry. Otherwise, it just kind of all mushes together. So just a tiny bit here because we got to leave room for his shirt since his beard is so giant. And this will be what we use for his nose, but we won't do that till later because that's kind of the most foreground part of the design. And you can turn your cookie to whatever makes sense for how you want to hold your icing bag. All right, so we've got his hand done there. That's gonna be so cute when it's done. All right, so I'm gonna use this again later. And so you see how much, that's as much brown as I'm going to use for the little tree and his feet, and there's a whole bunch left. So you've got 6 cookies, and I'm sure if you've got kids, you can decorate whatever. Maybe you make pancakes and they decorate the pancakes. All right, so next we're going to do, his hat next. Let's go with the hat. All right, so I already kind of did this one a little bit earlier, but just for good measure. And anytime you set these down for like more than an hour, you'll probably want to do that before you start again, or before you start using them again anyway. All right, so flatten that out. We're gonna do his hat. And I'm actually gonna do the top of it first, and then I'll do a brim I'll add a brim on it later, but I think that'll be cute. And I'm gonna put a bit of an edge here. It's not typically how I decorate, so you can kind of see how when I do the line, I'm not actually touching the cookie. It actually comes away. So you only touch like at the very beginning, and then when you're done, touch right back there. Okay, so his hat might be the only part that I do an extra line on. And then to fill it in, I just kind of go around, and I might cut a little bit more off of this bag because this is super small. I would use this like if I was writing something. Yeah, no, this is super annoying. Let's fix it. So I flatten it out again, cut a little bit more off. Hopefully I didn't cut too much. All right, there we go. Shouldn't have to squeeze too hard, but the bags are pretty durable, so just keep an eye if you've got like any bulging spots. To make sure you're not pushing too hard. All right. So there's that. We're gonna shake our cookie a little bit. It's kind of tricky with all the, I covered all the corners. Should have probably done blue first. Shake it out, it'll make it kind of level. And then you'll start to see, like, let's see if I can show you. So this is fresh, right, where it's really, really super shiny. But then the peach color that we did is starting to get a bit more dull. And that's when you know you can add another color next to it and it's not gonna just all mush together. So we'll be able to add on his green shirt here soon. All right, so speaking of green, I'm gonna come over and do that one. We already kind of mushed this around, but let's go for it. And then this is the same, so I kind of like to do a really layered look on the tree here. All right, so a really layered look on the tree. So we're gonna do 2 parts and then I'll come back to it. So we'll start at the bottom because that's the most in the background. Kind of fill it in. Nope, gotta cut it more. All right. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. All right. So we're gonna fill this in, and then I'm actually gonna let it sit, and I'll work on the present cookie so that it can dry a bit. And then I think we're gonna pause and relocate. Because nobody can talk when I'm doing this, so it's kind of awkward. It's normally very chatty in here in the morning. But shaking my cookie out so it kind of flattens. Nice and shiny. So satisfying. Okay. Move this guy down here. All right, so we can see them all. All right, and we will be right back. Okay, so we're back and we're gonna keep on trucking. So, all right, I'm picking back up my green here. And whenever you have to set it down for a minute, you typically are gonna get, my nails are so terrible. That's what winter does to me. The front of it will get kind of crunchy, as the icing starts to dry. So just kind of wipe it off so you're starting fresh. And then again, that seam on the top. And we're going to go ahead and do the next part of our tree here, because the first part should have dried enough to where we're going to get that separation that we like, give us that 3D effect. You're going to touch your frosting down and then pull the bag away, so you're getting that smooth line that we like. That's what everybody tries to do with their royal icing, right? Touch when we reach a point, and then pull away and back at the end. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and fill that in. All right. There's just something about this that is so calming. All right, so we've filled in our tree. It's another reason why I love these. They're called tipless piping bags. That's how you find them on Amazon if you want. We have a link for our favorite products page for cookie decorating. So if you want the shortcut to find those, shake it out, get your frosting to level. Okay, and then while that's drying, we're gonna work on part of our present. And so this, to get our separation, is wet icing next to slightly set. So you can see the difference in the sheen there a little bit. So we're going to move that one out of the way. But on the present, on the wrapping paper part, the bow will be mostly separate, but on the wrapping paper, it's going to be wet on wet. So I'll show you. And so the point of that is where this gives us the 3D effect when you wait about maybe at least 5 minutes, maybe more like 7, for it to start drying so that you get that separation. Wet on wet will make it look like one surface. So for example, like the pattern that I'm going to do on the present will just be some polka dots. And so it'll look all flat instead of having dots on top of like a green paper. So I'm going to make my bow pretty hardy. So we're going to go like this. It's going to have a ribbon down the middle. So this is going to be the first section of my present. And in our favorite products, you can find the link to some food coloring markers. And so those are great if you just kind of need a guide, if you want to be able to draw on your cookie and to know where you're going to put your lines before you actually do it. I've done this one a couple times before, this cookie shape. And so I have an idea of what I want it to look like already. So that's going to be the first section, and we're going to do our wet on wet now. So this is going to be some blue and white polka dots. Okay, so I'm not going to fit very many here, and I'm going to make the blue ones kind of big. So we're going to do that one and that one. Okay, and then as I shake it, the blue kind of like melts into the green, right? And then we're gonna open up our white. That's the only color I had left that I had not already opened. Just a very tiny bit. Okay, there we go. Oh, did it come off? Yes. there it is, stuck on the scissor. Okay. And with the white, I'm just going to do some small dots. So, little one there, little one there, and whoops, at my camera. Little one there. I don't want to do an actual pattern because then I get a little bit OCD if the pattern isn't the same. And then we'll keep on going with our other sections. And the reason I did those white and blue, right, I don't like this little bulge here, so I'm just gonna cheat, wipe that off a bit. See? It's a happy little accident, right? Okay. I'm gonna do this bottom section here. Right. Okay. And you can do these same designs on circle cookies if you want. If you're not nearby to be able to pick up a cookie kit, or if you're watching this after we don't have the cookie kits anymore. All right, so we got the green on there. We're gonna do our big blue dots. One there, maybe one there, one there, and then little tiny white ones. I did not add any white food coloring, which I used to do. But we are using dye-free natural food coloring, and I haven't found a white one yet, so maybe that's just not a thing with natural food coloring. That's okay. But what happens then typically is if you're doing cookies that you're not gonna maybe eat for a couple days, you might get like a where the colors around the white start to bleed into it, which sometimes can be a cool effect if you're doing like a kind of a tie-dye look or something like that, but it's definitely not what I prefer. But with these little tiny dots, it shouldn't really matter too much. So filling in our green here. And we can use the tip of the bag and just kind of fill it in. We don't need it too full, especially because we're going to fill in some dots. So put a big one there, put another big one there, one there. Okay, then we're going to do our tiny white ones. Oops, clean off the tip of my bag. It's getting crunchy there. Doesn't, makes the icing come out in funny shape, sort of. All right, so there are those, and we'll do our last section, and then we'll be able to come back to our tree. All right. There we go. Okay. Get our blue dots again. Let me put this one on the edge. Why not, right? Okay. Oh, and white dots. Almost forgot. And put one there. One there. One up here. All right. Super fun. All right, so we're gonna let that set for a little bit before we attempt to add our bow. Let's rearrange all these guys. Get out of my way right now. You can't be here. Move back. All right, now we're going to do the next section of our tree. Get that fun puffy look with this consistency of frosting. If you did your own frosting at home and you're having issues with runoff, or it's not coming out smooth even after you do some shaking, it's all about consistency. So that's kind of the trickiest part, and once you master that, then your royal icing kind of takes a jump to the next level. So, but that's the trickiest part for sure. So we'll probably do another video all on getting the right consistency for that. So next we're gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and do the brim of his hat and then the green on his shirt. So we're gonna just kind of go like that. Thought that would be fun to have like a separate little brim on his hat, like a little fold or something. Whoops. All right, so there's that. We'll do a little bit of tapping, shake it out some. And we're gonna do his shirt, give him some little sleeves here, and then kind of outline like where his beard is gonna go, right? I feel like I kind of made a mistake, but we're just gonna run with it now. Yep, nope, I don't want that. Wrong way. That's where the beard goes. See? Everybody makes mistakes. You just gotta keep on trucking. All right, so we're gonna give him some little, his little onesie here. Or his little, I don't know, robe. What do they wear? Is it like a onesie? Like a house coat or something? I don't even know what you would call a gnome outfit. All right, phone ran out of storage. Struggle's real. Okay, coming back to our little gnome outfit, which we don't know what to call. His little onesie. I'm gonna finish filling that in. Sorry for my lighting here. All right, so we're gonna level that out. Don't be afraid to put a little dent in your cookie because you're just gonna cover it anyway, right? You could even use like a little toothpick if you wanted. I've definitely done that before. Or if you use a scribe, that would be a great use for your scribe. Sometimes I pick it up and shake it, but it seems to be doing okay. All right, so now we can see it coming together. And what we're gonna do next, after we while we're letting that set, because we don't wanna do wet on wet for his beard. We're going to do our last part of our tree. Here. No. All right. Hopefully you can see. Try not to get my head in the way of the lighting in here. All right. All right, so there's the last part of our tree. We have that wonderful separation of each of the sections. So it makes it kind of look more realistic. It's all smooth and shiny. We're going to come over to our present and do our ribbons, which I wanted to do in blue. So it's going to have a big blue bow. And we'll think about, okay, what's the background, right? The ribbon is going to be in the background the most. And so I'll do one part of that and then let it set before I do the other part. And then the kind of loops on the bow. And then the last part will be this middle tie, you know, or whatever you want to call that. So we're actually going to do this part first. So we'll fill it in. Hopefully you're seeing that okay. Keep trying to have to move my head to the side so that I'm not blocking the lighting. Sometimes you use the tip of the piping bag to just kind of get my corners where I want them. Okay, then we're going to come back over here and do this one. Okay. All right. So get that kind of flattened there. All right, we're going to come back to it. And right now we're going to add our beard on our gnome, little Gnomaha. And his beard will go first, and then we'll do his mustache. So just start right here. And I already can tell I'm going to want to cut more off of this piping bag because that's going to be super annoying to fill in with so small of a line. If I was writing, that would be fantastic. But we're not. So actually, I just decided let's put his name on here. Gnom. And you can ad lib, right? What do you want to name your gnome? So we're going to put his letters on here just because that's how small of a tip I put on my. Now I will tell you, and this is not my best lettering effort because I wasn't planning on doing this, but lettering by far was the hardest thing for me starting out. So tricky. So don't be too hard on yourself. And I would definitely, if you're wanting to put lettering, definitely practice it first on a different surface. Definitely. All right, so we're going to cut the front of this off because I do not have time or the patience to do that like that. Okay, so we're filling in his beard. Gotta make sure it's actually overlapping the green. And then your sprinkles in your kit will be great to add some texture. Great for adding texture. So we're just going to fill it in real quick. Make it pretty puffy. Make sure our lines are where we want them. Okay. It doesn't have to be too perfect either because it's a beard and We all know they kind of stick out everywhere, right? Just makes it look a little bit more realistic. So your sprinkles, which you probably have in a little bag if you have a kit. And the tricky part is my other frosting is still a bit wet, so I don't want any on his like on his shirt or his shoes or anything like that. So I'm just going to put a tiny bit just for example's sake. It's kind of fun. And while that's drying, we're going to move him over. We're going to move our tree back. And we wanted to add some snow. So we're going to start on the bottom because that's our driest part, right? And we're going to do some just kind of random lines here. It's like we might have some snow on the edge of a tree, and you probably don't want it the same on both sides. So we're just going to do like that. And then we'll come up, we'll add a little bit more over here, right? Okay, there's that one. We're going to come up here, put a little bit more. Just kind of have fun with it. It's a happy little tree. I didn't even plan that. Okay. And then, you know, I just want to put a little bit on the top there. Because, of course. So we'll put that in. And still a little bit, my icing is still a little bit wet. So hopefully it doesn't blend in too much. I'll put a little tiny bit over here. Okay, and then I'm going to do a little bit more sprinkle snow. Oh, see, I got one on there. If you got a scribe, you can get those off, or a toothpick, or maybe it's just another snowflake on your tree. But put a couple of those little guys on there just for some texture. Ooh, it actually was able to blow it off a little bit. See, it's already starting to set, so it's not even sticking. Maybe I can just kind of touch it on there. Kind of makes it look more realistic when the snow is a bit smashed, right? Or maybe I'm just imagining it. I'm making myself feel better about it. You can do that too. So we're just gonna smush some snowflakes onto our little tree there. Okay. There it goes. Okay. All right, so there goes that. Our tree is done. And we're gonna do the next part of our bow here. We're coming to a close. Hopefully you see your cookies coming together. It's always exciting as you get toward the end. And it's fun too because especially with this present and the tree, they can be done lots of ways. Maybe it's a white tree and you're putting some colorful ornaments on it, some little 3D dots to be like ornaments on it. Or I know I've seen sprinkles that look like little tiny Christmas lights. I've used those before. And you just kind of put those onto the tree and decorate your tree. Or we're going for more of a woodsy feel because of our gnome. So we're just going to leave the tree kind of like that. We'll let that sit. Our present. Coming back to our gnome. Oh, I can hardly move him because he's like all decorated. Tree, you got to get out of here. You're already done. So we're going to move him over there. Got our gnome, and we're going to do the rest of his mustache, right? Okay. Hopefully you can see him. All right. So it's his little gnome mustache in 3D there. Turn him around. I'm gonna shake it out some. Where did I get that green on there? I'm gonna cover it up some more frosting. I think it's on my fingers. All right, and then we're gonna do the other side. Kind of fill this in. You want it to be pretty puffy. So your frosting's probably not going anywhere at this point. You can kind of pile it on there. It needs a little bit of a point on this side, I think. Get out of there. All right. Okay, so that's going to dry before we add his nose on. Gnomaha. All right. I gotta level it out though. I cannot abide by that line that's there on his beard. So let's pick it up really. There we go. That's a bit better. All right, and then we're gonna bring our tree, that's not a tree, our present. Bring the present back. And we're doing the outsides of the bow. I'm going to leave a little circle here. Just kind of like the top of the background of our bow. And if you want to, you can do that in at the very beginning. What I would do is just put blue frosting and really like flatten it out, even with your finger. So it's really, really, really in the background. Okay, we're going to come back around. All right. Our bow is ginormous compared to our present. I think I might have made it a little bit smaller in hindsight, but it's still going to be cute. Okay, so there is that. It's going to sit for a minute. Okay, kind of a neat thing about royal icing is as long as your cookies are on a flat surface, once you've got icing on them, it kind of keeps them fresh. They stay really soft for quite a while because the icing acts like a kind of a barrier for moisture to escape, so your cookies don't dry out. So that's always nice. And we're going to give this a minute and come back to it. So we can give it some time to dry. Okay, so we're back. Needed to take a little break to let our icing dry at the very end here. You've got 6 cookies in your kit if you've got a kit, or if you're doing decorating more than 3 cookies, you probably wouldn't need to take a break, just because by the time you're done doing the same steps on your other cookies, your first cookie should be dry. So dry enough anyway. But I took a snack break. So let's come back. We're going to add our, let's see here. We're going to add our nose on Gnomaha. He's got a nice puffy nose because he's a gnome. And how cute is that? It's so perfect. Oh my gosh, I love it. There's something about just adding the last couple steps on a cookie that is just so satisfying. We're gonna add our little center of our bow here. Let's make it rounded on the bottom. Okay. And make it pretty puffy so you really get that 3D look. And we're gonna put some lines too. I kind of think that that adds to it, right? And it can be kind of random. Doesn't need to be the same. We might even add a border on this top one because it kind of just adds something to it. So there we go. You have your present cookie and your wintry tree and your Gnomaha. So thanks for joining us, and I hope you found it helpful. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll do more, or maybe this will be our fun one-timer. Either way, hope you appreciated it and hope you learned something new.